Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the X Fan Show. Arlington is on assignment, and tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited because, with all the football going around, with the UFL, NFL, all of that stuff, there's that little bitty league that thinks they can, and they keep going. And they have all of their teams, and we are joined possibly, if you don't know football, then you don't know this man's name, because this man is an absolute legend in football. This man has created possibly one of the greatest offenses of all time, called the Air Raid. It is the one and only, the principal, I think he's the principal owner, managing partner of the Continental Football League's Indianapolis Capitals, Mr. Hal, I lied. Coach Hal Mumme. Sir, how are you?
Jason, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate the introduction.
Listen, I hope I did you justice.
Sure you did.
Are you sure? Because I got goosebumps talking to you.
No. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I
remember. Happy to talk to your fans.
Thank you. I remember the last time I talked to you, it was this little defunct league that is no longer.
Yeah, the IFA.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to say the name, but that's fine.
Well,
the IFA.
They tried hard, but they had a lot of flaws in their business plan, which is what caused the demise. But the biggest one was travel. You just, in these kind of leagues, you got to be a bus league. That's what AA baseball does.
Yeah.
Know? I mean, you can't be flying all over the world trying to play games, and because you don't generate that kind of revenue.
Right.
And
okay.
So this is more like AA baseball, and it's what the players need.
Okay, so I'm glad you even went right to that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So why the Continental Football League? I mean, you're a guy that's a legend. You created one of the greatest offenses of all times. Your coaching tree spans Mike Leach. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's that team in San Antonio that has somebody that has coached under you and Stan, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why is Hal, after, like you said, all these failures with all these leagues, why are you jumping in bed with the Continental Football League?
Well, two reasons. The first one is for the game. There's just too many players that never get a chance after they come out of college. And there's another caveat to that now with all the NIL money floating around, is they're not going to come out of college as fast as they used to. So I think the NFL is going to find us useful because we can train guys that have, maybe been overlooked, underrated, that sort of thing, and let them play NFL and CFL style football and see what they can do. And then the last reason is just selfish. I mean, I just like game day.
You like game day. As you see, I'm wearing my CFL shirt called the People's League. I had this shirt specially designed for all of this, right?
Yes.
For this league. So that's the next question I want to ask you. It's being coined as, Michael Lathrop came up with the term in an interview I think he did either with Mike Kelly or Manny. And then we had Manny on the show, and, as our show is a fan-driven show. And we said, Manny, this is the league we've all wanted, the People's League. And it just kind of, the league's embraced it.
Yeah. No, it should be. I mean,
okay.
If you look at, I keep going back to AA baseball, because if you look at, there's some great franchises in AA baseball around America, and they're important to their communities. They generate money and, all sorts of enthusiasm for those communities. And people go out and enjoy watching those players play. And then a couple of years later, they're playing for the Yankees or somebody, and they can all point with pride to the fact that they grew up in their league. So we're trying to do the same thing in football for these guys.
And I think that's what I love so much about this league is you guys are embracing the fans.
Yeah.
Like you've been around football. I mean, God, We're talking what, 40 years plus,
Yeah, 40 plus.
right?
Yeah.
40 plus. For you, how is it that the league is embracing the fans? How important to you is that as an owner of this team?
Well, I think and I don't know how much I'll really own. I'm the managing partner right now, but uh, I think the league and the fan base are where our that that's our bailiwick. That's what we're about. If you look at the UFL, where they're just
Mm-hmm.
bubbling everybody in Dallas and flying out to the sites of the games and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing, and that's fine. If they're just doing that for TV, that's okay. But you don't get the local sports writer to come out to practice on Tuesday. You don't do a show like this in your local area the week of the game. You don't have
Right.
players doing shows. And,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's no embracing of the fan base. Um, and so I think doing that is really, really important to us. And so we're going to make that a priority.
And see, and that's what I love so much, is that everybody that I've talked to, all the way from Mike Kelly to Manny, all the other coaches, now you as the managing partner, that they've said the exact same thing. This is about getting the fans and giving the fans what they want and somewhat of a say on how they want their team to look and
Yeah.
perform and stuff like that. Now,
Yeah, and being a part of the community, I think, is important too.
that's the other big thing.
You never know about that 10-year-old little boy watching our guys play on the sidelines may grow up to be the next Tom Brady. So it's important I know when I was that age, that's when I got intrigued with football, and it's been a whole career for me. And you never know who's sitting up there in the stands watching you play.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, we started this show all the way back in December of 2018. And at that time, we were solely focused on the St. Louis Battlehawks because we knew that nobody in St. Louis would talk about them. And now our show
Right.
is involved to what it is today. Hal, so with that question, you creating one of the greatest offenses, the air raid offense, like how has the game evolved from your air raid offense to now? Like how has it evolved in a way where you've seen it to evolve?
Well, I think what's happened is our the way we play and the way we practice was fun for players. And when I started this in 1985, 86, back at Coppers Cove High School in Texas, the idea was we were losing players to soccer and baseball and all the other sports. Football wasn't fun, so I wanted football to be fun for those young men, and it was. And so all of a sudden we started drawing players off the basketball team and off the soccer team and off the baseball team, and we had some success. And then as I moved to Iowa Wesleyan 3 years later, we had a chance to go out and recruit guys, and we expanded it, in terms of being in the college game and all that, and I think it just started catching on, and people started saying that you can play this style of play, and it is fun. It's more fun to watch. It's more fun to play. It's safer to play, and I think it has helped save the game with a lot of players that wouldn't have been NFL quarterbacks these days if we hadn't done it.
Now, see how I was just going to ask you about Iowa, right?
Yeah.
That was going to be one of the questions, but but you kind of answered it. So I'm going to come down to another part of my question, back to the air raid. What is the one core principle of your original system that you feel modern coaches still haven't fully mastered yet?
Well, I think a lot of them have mastered what we do. There's a core of them that haven't embraced it. I think that, back in the 1980s when I was an assistant coach in college, I used to go to a lot of high school practices.
Mm-hmm.
And on every single field you would go look at, there would be a spot on the 20-yard line where grass wouldn't grow, because that's where they put the ball every single snap of every single practice for an entire season. And I used to see that and I'd go, why don't they use the field? You know, I
Right.
mean, you on Friday nights you got to use the field. I mean, you're gonna move the ball. Why don't they move the ball in practice and use the whole field? But the mentality in those days was not to use the field; it was to defend the formation, and mostly that meant defending the run game. And so that was kind of the one of the genesis ideas of this whole air raid thing. And but there's a ton of guys out there now doing, you know, if they're not running air raid, they're running something similar, or aspects of it. And players have changed to the point where I think it was 2000 and maybe 2005 or six. My son Matthew was coaching quarterbacks and was at New Mexico State with me. And he comes to me and he says, "Dad, do we have to still take snaps under the center?" And I go, "Well, yeah, it helps the timing." And he goes, "Well, the problem is we don't have any quarterbacks that know how to take a snap under the center." Now, if you go back about 15 years from that point, we didn't have any quarterbacks that knew how to take a shotgun snap. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's how much it changed in about a decade and a half.
And so, like, to see that your system is still used, and now, you know, you said there are a few guys who've used it and have mastered it in your mind, right? I
Sure.
mean, I still don't think people have gotten it to the point where you got it to like almost a science. But now people have added their own little twist and stuff like that, like you just said, like your son saying,
Right.
"Dad, do we have to keep taking snaps under center?" So, like, he even added a change to it. So, like, for you as a coach, knowing that people have evolved your air raid system to kind of what it is today, as the godfather, the OG of it, what does that mean? And how impressed that your people have added stuff to it to make it even more exciting?
Well, people that copy you, that's like they say, that's the highest form of flattery, right? So I always take it as a compliment.
See, I love that because you're a very humble guy. You know. All right, so here, the wife's got a question for you.
Sure.
When you were with the Renegades, you
Yes.
had a signature look. And in your picture that I posted on the page, right?
Yeah.
You have the towel.
Yeah. It's more of the disheveled. It's the DQ the GQ for the disheveled.
Is that what it is? Is that what you're
Yeah.
calling it?
No, I'm just making that up. I'm
Hey,
not calling it
listen,
anything.
I like it. The disheveled look for the GQ. I love it.
Yeah.
She says you need to create a signature look with it.
Ah. Okay. Well, you know, when I was at Kentucky, they made Hal towels and sold them.
Yes, they did.
And we had a young lady on the sidelines. Her only job was, if I got mad and angry and threw the towel in the stands or at a referee or something, then her job was to put another one around my shoulder, so it was always there. Um, I really didn't intend all that to be a look. I just needed a towel because I got terrible sinuses.
To join the club.
Yeah,
Join the club.
yeah,
Here, I'm going to ask this question because I like it. I mean, I was going to ask it a little bit later to you, but
yeah.
I like the question she asked. Talk you're I mean, you're kind of a guy who kind of invented the continental shift, basically. Like how they do it. I mean, let's
Yeah,
be honest, how they kind of
yeah,
do it in the Canadian League and all of that
sure.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
How excited are you to actually bring that to the American game of football
Oh,
with
I
the
think
continental shift in
it's
this
a
league?
brilliant move. It's going to be a little extra work on the coaching staffs because we have to get guys prepared each week for two different games, particularly
Oh.
in the special teams. Uh, but I think it's going to add a lot of excitement for the fans, and I think fourth quarters are going to be a blast.
See, I agree because that's one of the things because since we've gotten into this whole football ecosystem, right? The wife, she's a Vikings fan. I'm a Bears fan.
Boy, y'all are total
Like, I
opposite.
mean, we are definitely a house divided. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like I can't even watch a Viking game with her because she just goes, She just goes nuts. You know what I'm saying? Running around. Every play is against the Vikings and all of that stuff, right? Give me a little word of advice because the Vikings aren't so good right now, and the Bears are starting to get good with Caleb Williams.
They have.
How can I make it to where I can watch a game with her?
Oh, I don't know. They need a quarterback. That's where they need to start. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they did get Kyler Murray.
They got rid of Sam Darnold. That was a good move, huh?
Right? Don't. Hal, stop. You're going to get me in trouble. She's going to come down the stairs and yell at me. Don't do that. All right. So let's get back to it. And so I want to go to this. The Continental Football League is representing a new frontier of summer and spring football. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned from your previous experience in alternative leagues like the XFL? You had the success with the in the Indy line or linemen up there in the spring league that you would apply to this one. What is those experiences?
The spring league was a lot more successful than the others, and and the reason they were is because they didn't spend a lot of money on foolish things, and you know, the XFL was great. I enjoyed it, but we had 36 players and we had 4 trainers. We had 4 weight coaches. I mean, there was a lot of things about the XFL that were run by ex-NFL guys and you know, front office guys and stuff like that. And I used to tell them all the time, I said, guys, this is a lot more like being in D2 than it is like being in the NFL. And y'all are going to go broke doing this.
I mean, and they didn't take your advice, and now we've merged into.
Well, the first version, Mr. McMahon did a great job putting that together. Mm-hmm. And if it weren't for the virus, I mean, that COVID broke a lot of businesses.
Yes,
but he had done a great job of marketing. I think the first version, if the virus wasn't there, then I think it would have made it, and it would have been real successful.
Yeah, I mean, Arlington and we've talked about that, and we agree with it. You know, now this is what our 3rd iteration of what the UFL is and all of that. But I want to go to your time with the spring league because you had the linemen. You guys played there in that little bubble and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, well, it was still the end of COVID, so we kind of forced into that.
Right. How was that experience? Because you got to because you're going back to Indy.
Yeah.
With the
that kind of led to this. It really did. My wife, Jacqueline, deserves most of the credit for it because when we went up there, she's a great at marketing, and she goes, well, if we're going to be the linemen, named after the guy, you know, the guys that's the 4th most dangerous job in the world, climbing the electrical poles. Why don't we call and get them involved? And so she sought out the local 1393 and this brilliant guy who's their business manager named Chris Wilson. And we were the only spring league team with a fan base. I mean, they'd show up and tailgate. We'd have a honorary lineman on the sidelines each week and, you know, use his tool belt as our defensive reward trophy.
Right.
And when we played for the championship in Houston, they flew all their guys down there to see us play and tailgated before the game. And,
I did not know that.
No, it was great. And anyway, Chris found out about what Manny was doing with the Continental League, and they got together and so anyway, that's how I ended up back in Indy, and they're got a bunch of guys together we got kind of a built-in fan base, I guess is what I'm saying, but they've been very very supportive, and we look forward to working with them again.
Yeah,
and they're great. Yeah, you know, our league kind of leads to what they do,
mm-hmm.
because you know, they need young athletic guys to climb those poles and take those risks.
That's
kind of a recruiting tool for them too, and we intend to help them with that.
Right. Now, I want to go to something. You're bringing back the Indianapolis Capitals, one of the
Yeah,
original teams from the Continental Football League. You brought
yeah,
up Manny and you brought up Mike Kelly. Or did I bring up Mike Kelly? I think I
yeah. I
did.
think you did, but that's okay.
Right. But you brought up Manny and you talked to Manny. You had the linemen when you were there with the spring league.
Yeah.
Why did we go with, was it going to be the linemen or was it Manny's like, look, let's bring back a legacy team? So
I
how did
think
that happen?
well, the Indianapolis last championship team in that league before it disbanded, and it mostly disbanded because of the Vietnam War and the draft. But there was some,
That is,
a lot of famous people that played in the Continental Football League. Bill Walsh's first head coaching job was in the Continental Football League. Kenny
yes.
Stabler played in the Continental League before he was a Hall of Fame quarterback for the Raiders.
Mhm.
Garo Upremian was actually the kicker for the Caps in 1969 before being a kicker in the Super Bowl winning Dolphins.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you can go down the list. There's dozens of them that played in that league that are in the Hall of Fame now. But so I think tying to the old traditions and everything, I think that was the reasoning behind it. And the someone on the original Caps team actually had the 1969 trophy in their attic, and
Wait, what?
yeah, and they're sent it to Manny. Manny's got it, and he's going to bring it over, and we're going to have a little ceremony where we're going to give the linemen so they can display in they got a huge lobby there, their office building, and we're going to display the 21 lineman trophy from the spring league and the 1969 cup from the last Continental Football League championship.
Wait a second. Wait a second, because I want to pull this up because there's on the bottom, there's the original logo.
Yeah.
And there is the more modernized logo, which I love. I mean, I absolutely love it, but somebody had the original
Yeah. Yeah. They
Continental
said it's
Cup.
like I think they were using it for a doorstop or something in their attic. And one of the players, we're going to meet him soon here too. He's 95 years old, and we look forward to visiting with him.
So you're going to have one of the original Caps
Yes.
players?
Yes.
Oh, wow. What history. What history.
Yeah. So that as much as we could, we tried to tie back to the 1965 through 69 or whatever it was, Continental Football League, because I remember that when I was a little kid, and I know Manny does too. A lot of, particularly on the East Coast and the Midwest, a lot of people remember it. I was talking to Jerry Glanville recently, and he used to go watch the Toledo Tornadoes play every week. And it's just, I think it's got some history to it, and I think it'll help us sell it to the fan base.
Now, okay, so here the wife wants to take her shot.
Okay.
Because she does a women's show about football, and she doesn't want you on her show, Hal. She wants your wife.
Oh, she'll have a better show having Jacqueline on there, that's for sure.
So
tell her, yeah, we'll work that out.
Okay, all right.
I'll talk to her.
She came down and opened up the studio door and said, pointed to the very last question. So I was like, all right, I'll get it out there.
There was a lot of work went into getting that done that I wasn't, necessarily involved with.
Right. So I want to go to it. Your coaching tree is the essential of the who's who of modern offensive innovators. When you look at the next generations of coaches that are coming up, like let's look at Stan and James Champagne, the young coaches that are getting a shot in this league. What are the traits that you see, and what suggestions would you give them?
Well, the biggest suggestion I always give them is to keep it simple, and don't overcoach this stuff. That's what young coaches tend to do that, and the ones that are best at it are the ones that've learned to just keep it as simple as possible. Sonny Dykes is the great coach at TCU, and Dana Holgerson's one of our guys, now the OC at Nebraska.
Right.
I can remember about 20 years ago, they went to work for Mike Leach at Texas Tech.
Great coach.
Great coach. And Mike understood, just like we did, that, invite the high school coaches to watch what you're doing, because then it's going to help you recruit. And so all their spring practices were open to the local coaches. And that included guys like at Muleshoe, Texas, where they turned out Lincoln and Garrett Riley. So they would come over and watch. And then after practice, Sonny and Dana were in charge of the high school coaches. So they'd go in the big meeting room there, and anybody wanted to come in and ask questions, they would explain stuff, what we were doing and what they were doing. And invariably, Sonny tells me this story. He says they'd be walking out of the meeting and walking across the parking lot. And this is like the first year they were there. And they go, he hears some coach going, "Those some bitches won't tell you anything. It can't be that simple."
That's hilarious.
Out of that. Yeah.
Oh, look,
but
she changed it.
They finally learned it after a while around there. They figured out that.
Right.
So that's if you ask for advice for them, that's what I'd tell them.
So look, Hal, she said, "Hal, I never said that." And then she goes, "We would love to have you both on."
No, so, it'll be more fun with Jacqueline. Tell her that. It'll be more fun.
All right. Now, Hal, I don't want to age you, but I do have this question. You are currently the oldest full-time college coach in the country.
Well, yeah, I got Belichick by about 30 days or so.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, we'll go. You're the second oldest. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Is that better? All right.
No, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm glad to still be here.
Right. I mean, you've been working at a school that brought football back after 77 years of football. You're there.
Yes.
What keeps your internal engine running at such a high RPM to keep doing it at this age?
Mike Leach used to ask me that question. He'd go, when are you going to know to retire? And I told him, when I hate game day, that's when I'll know to retire.
I had Coach Steve Kaiser on, and he said the exact same thing you said. He goes, "When I hate game day, that's when I'm done."
Yeah. When you start hating game day, it's time to get out. But you do all the other stuff so you can have that day. And that's the way it's always been. And, I've had some great paying jobs, and I've had some really low paying jobs, but we did all of it just so we could have game day.
Right. Now, I've got to ask you this, as you step into the dual role, because I'm going to assume you're the managing partner. Yep. And as of right now, I'm going to assume you're going to be the head coach.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what they say when you assume stuff, right?
No, that's good. No, that's my title is head coach and managing partner.
All right. How does having skin in the game from an ownership perspective change the way you're going to approach building the roster, a team culture, compared to your time in the SEC, or the XFL?
Well, the thing about this level of football is you're dealing with so few players. In the SEC, and they got 105 players every day to deal with. You're really kind of coaching about half of them to play on Saturday, and the other half you're trying to grow them up. Nowadays, they're just spending all their time trying to get them to stay, so they don't get in the portal. But that's a little different management deal than it is for any kind of pro football. Your rosters are very limited, and so you spend a lot more time. And I enjoy doing this. You spend a lot more time just kind of getting to know your players and what they're all about, and they're a lot more mature too. They're 4, 5, 6 years older.
Okay, you talk about with the limited roster size, because if I'm not mistaken, I think you guys are going to like a 40 or a 45 man roster.
I think it's 40. Yeah,
you're right. I know it's somewhere in there. I can't.
Yeah,
I don't know right off the hand. But you talk about getting to know your players.
Yeah.
Right. With having such that limited roster space, how are you going to split your time? Or is it an open door policy for your guys to come in and ask you questions like, how is that going to work for you?
Well, I've always had an open door policy, so that part won't change. I think what'll happen is I'll work with the offense. Mike Finoga is going to be our defense coordinator. He'll run the defense, and we, when you get right down to it, we're each coaching about 18 or 19 guys.
Yeah, that's
So
true. You
there's a
guys
lot
are.
more time left over.
So like you've built these programs, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you're back at a school that hasn't had football in 77 years. You rebuilt that program. Those are college kids, though. This is back to the pro level. And you're basically starting from ground zero. And this kind of feeds into my question that I want to ask you. Like, what kind of player are you hungry for? And what will Hal Mumme not tolerate from a player?
Well, they got to be good team members. And so that's always the first thing you see. The me guys don't last very long. So at this level, it's easier because the egos are not huge because they're not making a lot of money doing it. They're truly playing for the love of the game, and they're playing for that shot to be able to be seen by NFL or a CFL player, scout, and maybe get a shot to play in those leagues. So we've got 6 or 8 games in the summertime where they can get some film and hopefully get picked up. And so they're always attentive. Like I said, they're a little bit older, they're a little more mature, and if they're doing this at 26 years old, they're serious about being football players. And I thoroughly enjoyed working with all the guys I've worked with at this level.
Now, it's funny because I was going to ask you that question later about the 6 games, the 6-game schedule for sure. Depending on where you finish in your division, you could go to possibly 8 games, right?
Yeah, correct.
But you've often said repetition is the mother of all skills.
Sure.
And with the 6 games in the season and the limited training camp, how does Hal Mumme decide which 20% of his air raid playbook will give the Capitals that 80% result to win a championship right away or to win games right away?
Well, I think there's 2 things operating right here. Number one, like you alluded to early in the show, is there's a lot of people doing our style of offense now, and a lot of them actually run our offense. So the more air raid guys we can pick up and sign, the better, because they already know the terminology and they already know the various aspects of each play. The other thing is, since you're dealing with so few numbers, you got more time to just kind of concentrate on the smaller skills that they have to perfect, and it kind of leads to hopefully success in doing what we do.
Now, I've asked other coaches and owners that have been on the show about the CFL, Canadian Football League, right? And their rules. I know I'm not going to ask you that question because I know you're very familiar with it, right?
Yeah.
You're very familiar with it. So, like, when that 4th quarter hits, because I'm assuming you're going to need players because, they have that waggle. They have, the rogue and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're going to need those fast guys. I mean, what I love about the Canadian Football League is you can have your receivers and your running backs just moving in different directions.
Yeah.
And then they can all go, right?
Yeah.
With you and your air raid system, right?
Yeah.
You ain't got to give it away, but like what crazy ideas do you have in that brain of yours going right now for that 4th quarter? Like, is there one play in particular? You got to say what it was that that you've ran in the past that might look very interesting in the Continental Shift.
Well, a fellow named Sam Gwynn wrote a book called The Perfect Pass, and the perfect pass was mesh. And so that would probably be the easiest answer.
I like that one. That was a good one. That you got me on that one. I want to ask you this. You've often described football as a canvas to where in your coaching and your coaching has become kind of what an art form. You see all these guys who have taken your system and put it into place, and they're starting to use it now. For you, what is left on the Hal Mumme canvas of football?
Well, I don't know. I guess that's one of the exciting things about showing up every year. You find that out. So we're going to see what kind of players we sign, and we're starting to sign some now. And we got some tryout camps coming up. I'm looking to discover a few, and then we'll work on that part of it after we know who we have.
Well, I am your okay. Speaking of your first tryout, I think it's the 28th, correct?
28th of March at Columbus East High School in Indiana, and then we got. I don't think we broadcast the next three, but there'll be three more too. In April.
Yeah. Well, I know. Talking to Tom, I'm going to be up there for that game or for that practice.
Cool.
And the wife is going to come with me, and we're going to take some pictures and put them out on the pages and stuff like that. So now, I asked Justin, the owner of the Fort Worth Braves, right?
Yeah.
His team was just announced as the last team. I think you were the second to last team announced, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Is that right? You're the last team in the North.
Yeah,
so
we
yes.
were the last in the North, and they were the last in the South. Yeah.
So I would say this: if I'm looking from the outside looking in, it would look like you're behind the 8 ball.
Well, I've been
stuff.
there before. I'm not worried about that a lot.
So you, as you just said, as a guy who is used to being behind the 8 ball, what was the first thing you did?
When we had the linemen in the spring league, we put that team together in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah. Brian Woods called me and asked me if I'd do it after he had signed another coach to be the head coach of the linemen. And then that guy got another job and couldn't do it. So he called me about the middle of April and said, "Can you put a team together by April the 26th?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I think I can. Give me a shot." I said, you have a roster already? And he goes, "Yeah, but you don't have to keep any of them." And so we kept about half, I think. So yeah, it'll be a push, but it's the first year doing this in this league, and so I'm not really worried. Am I behind San Antonio or anything like that? So we'll catch up with our division, and then we'll worry about who wins the South Division later.
I just love the whole this is what I love about you, because I interviewed you way back when the IFA was around, and now it's defunct. You were just like, yeah, we're good. I ain't worried about it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like, how do you develop those traits as a coach and now as a managing partner? Like what goes through your head to where you're just like, I'll figure it out?
Well, after 40-something years of doing this, I'm pretty much not our first rodeo here, Jason.
I get it. That's why I'm trying to figure out, like, how does Hal Mumme come up with this? That's why I was, asking. Well, you know what I mean?
Hopefully we get the right players and we do a good job coaching them and we win the North. But that's the challenge. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but I'm not going to panic over putting it together. I mean, we've done it before. We can do it again.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you put the linemen together in 2 weeks, I mean, I'm sure you'll be okay.
One of the advantages of having the air raid be so popular in high schools and colleges nowadays is that most of these offensive players have had some experience either in high school or college or both, and so we try to lean to picking the guys that have been in our system, and no, it doesn't always hold up, but that's a good starting point.
You go, it always doesn't hold up. I love that. It's funny because here we are, a new league coming out. You're the managing partner, and you're just like, you believe in this league, and you have a lot of tentacles.
I believe in in the city of Indianapolis, that whole area up there too. I think that's a great spot to have a franchise, and uh, they're family oriented. Uh, we'll be announcing our playing location here early next week, Monday or Tuesday, and so I think everybody's going to be pleased with that. And I think it's just a good family place particularly during the summer months, and that's when we're playing.
Okay, let's talk about that. The summer.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Well, it won't be that hot in Indiana.
No, it won't be. It is hot in Texas. But the summer. We've seen leagues fail in the spring, but we're going to the summer. What is it that will make this league last through the summer months? Is it because we're starting the game so late, or how does that going to work?
No, I think it's strategically a good move by our people running the league, and we end the season before the NFL training camps start. Mm-hmm. We end the season before the big turnover that always occurs in the CFL in late August, early September. So our guys got a chance to show off what they can do, and then they can still be seen and picked up by hopefully one of those other franchises. Our job is to move guys up, so that's everything we do is focused on that.
See, and again, that's what I love, and I love that you're just not focusing on just NFL or UFL. You're focusing on the Canadian League also.
Well, we want these guys are coming to play for us because they're serious about their chances to do that, which means they get paid. They don't get paid much by us, but if they make one of those other leagues, they get paid pretty well. And we want to give them every opportunity, every advantage to be able to make one of those teams.
And see, and again, this is opportunity football that it truly is. And like Manny was on the A team last night, and talked about when he played and then he got cut, that he didn't have anywhere else to go, to play. And now this league brings that opportunity to kids. So, like, I'm going to ask you this: in your entire career, before these leagues popped up, right? See, again, she's stealing my question right here. What other word than opportunity would you say this is for all your players? I like her question better. So there you go.
Well, I think the biggest opportunity is for them to show off and have a chance at getting a contract for one of the bigger leagues. And other than that, they get a chance to, perhaps finish their career in a real positive way. I know when the linemen in 21, we won the championship there, that was a lot of those guys, it was their last game, but they're going to remember that the rest of their lives. And a lot of them have gone to be coaches and trainers and stuff like that. And so I think it adds to their skill set in terms of if they want to stay in the game.
Right. Okay. So now I want to elaborate a little more on that. With all the years you've been in the coaching game, and now all of these opportunity leagues are out there, is there one player that you've coached in high school, college, but didn't get the shot to go to the pros that would be beneficial from these leagues like this?
Yeah, the game's changed a lot since I started, and we've had a lot to do with changing it, to be quite frank about it. But I think when I was at Kentucky, we had a player named James Whalen, who was a bigger wide receiver, and we turned him into our tight end. And he ended up being a consensus All-American at Kentucky. He led the nation in receptions his senior year, but James was like 6'4" and about 215 and could run pretty good. But it was 1999, when he came out, And so he was just a little bit ahead of his time in terms of nowadays the NFL would be all over a guy like that. He'd be
Mm-hmm.
a Travis Kelsey kind of guy,
Mm-hmm.
or George Kittle kind of guy. Because James was a tough guy, but he wasn't huge. So when he went to the NFL, they tried to turn him into a tackle. He played for about 4 or 5 years in the NFL, mostly for the Cowboys, and but they kept trying to, okay, when are you going to put on 40 pounds? And so he just, the game wasn't where it is now for those guys. So I think in terms of missed opportunities, those guys probably were a little ahead of their time.
Right. All right. So I want to go back in some time,
Okay,
back to your days in Iowa when you were coaching
sure,
with Mike Leach and all of that. What is
yeah.
the one piece of advice about the elevation of this game would it be that you would give to both of you?
You mean in terms of skill level, or in terms of
Just
moving up in the
the
profession?
evolution of the game. What would be that one piece of advice that you
Well,
would give to you guys?
I think what we did there was we started playing fast. We threw the ball. We've always been throwing the ball, but playing fast, adding that element to the game. And in our games, you're going to see that in the fourth quarter for sure on all the teams because you only got a 20-second clock. But I think that part of it is something people should study.
Okay. See? And that's the piece of advice that you'd give you in your old day?
Yeah, sure.
There you go. You go, yeah, sure. See, I love it. Al, you're just always so nonchalant. Look, she comes up with another great question. What would you tell anyone that is thinking about coming out to the tryouts, but isn't sure it's for them?
Well, I would say this. If they think that they have a shot at going to the NFL or the CFL, they should come and try out. And if they want to do that, we're not going to pay as much. Our players don't make as much as you do in arena ball.
Right.
Uh, but it's two different animals, really. And I personally I like watching arena ball. It's fun and it's exciting and all that. And they pay their players a little more, but it still doesn't translate to 11 on 11 NFL style football. So this is an opportunity where if you want to put that on videotape and have a chance for people to look at you and scouts to watch you and be serious about you, then you need to come play in the Continental Football League. If you're just about picking up an extra $1,000 a week and playing, I don't know, 15 games or whatever they do, then that's fine too. That's got its place, but you're not getting looked at by scouts.
You're right.
The,
Okay.
the game's too different. It just is.
Right. Yeah. Now, how I just got to say thank you for joining us. I know you were supposed to come on at 7:30, but then
No,
I had
good. We're good.
another show that needed me because I'm being their first premier guest for the Behind the Syndicate show. So I want to
Okay.
say thank you for that. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
rearranging your schedule and spending almost an hour with me.
Happy to.
That's just a guy that loves the game of football and is really, really into this league. Now, there are a few coaches out there, and being in St. Louis, you being in Arlington back in 2020,
Yeah.
I was at the first game there against the Arlington Renegades, and at the time, Coach Hayes was our coach.
Yeah.
You know
I remember
what?
it well.
He had that. Yeah, I know. I mean, we remembered it very well because it came down to the last minute of
Yeah.
that game. What is one of the things that you remember about Coach Hayes? Because he had Jordan Ta'amu. So Jordan could throw, but then he could also run. So he kind of used some of your air raid type stuff, but he also used some running stuff. What is the one thing that you remember about Coach Hayes and that game?
I just remember I thought we should have won. We didn't play as well as we could have. We were playing with our backup quarterback too, because Landry Jones had gotten hurt in training camp and didn't come
That is
back for
true.
about 2 more weeks. So we're playing, no excuses. We were playing with a backup guy, and they were playing with a pretty talented guy. And so I think that was probably the difference in the game.
Yeah, that 2020 coaching staff, that whole 2020 season, it seemed like you guys were all, even though you guys were in your own respective cities, right? And you said the Vince McMahon model would have worked if COVID wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You guys, the Continental Football League, you're all going to be in your respective cities playing and practicing, being embedded in the community. You said you're doing the bus travel, right?
Yeah.
Can you see the comparisons between the 2020 XFL and the Continental Football League that's getting ready to happen?
I think promotion wise, I think it's going to be similar to the XFL.
Okay.
We got a lot better chance to promote our league than the current UFL does.
Well, I mean, you guys, I mean, let's give it up. I mean, look, the whole People's League was created by the fans, and you got your guys' league has embraced it, right?
Right.
Which is unbelievable. All right, Hal. I kept you for almost an hour, right?
Thanks, Jason. Yeah.
No, so I got one last thing to ask.
Okay.
I want you to tell people why they should pay attention to this league and why if they're in that city, they should come out and watch these teams play.
Well, number one, I think you'll be entertained, and it's going to be reasonably priced where you can take your family and not have to spend thousands of dollars, and I think it's going to be an entertaining show. I do. And I think the rules kind of promote that too, not just for our team, but for all the teams.
Oh, I agree. I literally cannot wait. Here's how I see it. Here's how I see it envisioning. How you tell me. Fourth quarter comes. The in-stadium DJ, lights go down, right?
Yeah.
He comes on and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the shift. It's the fourth quarter. The continental shift happens."
Yeah.
Tell me that ain't a great thing.
You're watching the Canadian Football League after watching the NFL, so that's usually you got to flip channels to do that in the summertime. So it's it could be fun to do for sure.
I love it. All right, Hal, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
You're welcome.
I do appreciate it
for everything you've done. Appreciate the T-shirt. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'll see you on March 28th because I'm coming up to take pictures.
Yeah, and tell your wife we'll set something up with Jacqueline too. Okay.
All right, I'll tell her, Hal.
All right.
All right, Coach. Have a good one.
Yeah, same to y'all.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard from an absolute legend, Hal Mumme. His proteges are all throughout this league. And if this isn't giving you credibility, or if this is giving you any hesitations or doubts to watch this league, go back and watch some of Hal Mumme's old stuff when he was coaching. Watch the system. We all know the air raid system. You got a coach like that. You got a coach like Steve Kaiser. All of these coaches in this league, they're all young. Some are young and hungry. Some have the experience like Hal. You definitely got to go watch the Continental Football League. Hey, this is Spurge on the X-Fan Show. I am out of here. I'm actually going to do another interview as we speak over on, just look it up, Behind the Syndicate. I'm joining that show here in 3 minutes, actually. With that being said, I will see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us. We will see you guys then. Oh, I forgot to put the